Um, so things software wise, again we've talked a lot about Illustrator a little bit, mostly Photoshop. Today's demonstration, we'll get to it in a minute, will be mostly about sizes and how to make sizes of things, especially using the crop tool, image size, as well as the canvas size. I use that a lot as well. So we'll talk a little bit about those in a little bit. Let's get to Canvas for a moment and talk about what's on Canvas for today and this week. And you should be reading Canvas all the time. I think one of the problems I have is students don't look at Canvas. Canvas should be your guide for your every day. You should log into Canvas. What has the instructor posted? What is he thinking about? As I think and find links, I post them on Canvas. You know, and I don't know why people don't look at Canvas. You know, I teach these computer science classes and I give them a paper to do, right? And you know, I have lists and lists of things. And, oh, here's a sample paper. Here's a sample paper. But I still get emails from students. You know, what is the paper supposed to be about? You should be looking at Canvas all the time. Every week, log in 2-3 times a week. Again, this was last week. We kind of left off right here with the responsive lecture, and that's probably where we'll start, right here. Okay, so this was from last week. It was at the very end of last week. I said, hey, we'll talk about this next week, and hey, it is next week already. Magically appeared. So again, last week I kind of gave you the history, right? Remember the discussion of the 2010? The person wrote the article about how to change the website so it'll fit any screen. And that's kind of some of the concepts that we're going to talk about today. Mostly, you know, fluid layout. What is a fluid layout? And so on. And really, it's not an easy concept. It's took many years for me to even make a responsive site properly. You know, years. The coding is not easy. Again, most of the WordPress, not all of them, but most of them will actually do it for you, which saves, you know, but it never does anything properly. Doesn't do anything properly. So when we're talking about responsive layout, it's mostly that a website is changing the size of the website according to the actual size of the screen. And how this is done is mostly by measuring the dimensions in pixels. And so here's a good article that just gives you the best practices. Again, we're talking about designing content that would change the size according to the screen. There is some ways, and I lost that book, but I did have a responsive design book. I have no idea where it went. To limit the max width. One of the problems that we started running into once we started doing responsive design is a lot of monitors started getting cheaper and larger, right? Who has the giant 55-inch screen at home? Now, I know it's not super, super big, but, you know, there is a way to limit not only getting smaller, right? But once you get up to a certain size, you can max width, which means it's not ever going to go bigger. So if somebody has a giant monitor like this, it's still only going to be this. There's ways of doing that as well. Again, responsive design is not a single technology, but a set of techniques that allow web pages to serve the needs of both mobile and desktop users. The most important thing about responsive design is flexibility. Everything must be flexible. Layouts, image size, text blocks, absolutely everything. So, you know, in the responsive design concept, you need to think about not only the layout, but the font size, right? How big is the font? The images. Do I start with a giant image on my page, and then as it goes down, so if you look here, here's a common mistake, I wouldn't say mistake, but a problem, is that, you know, you're designing a website, and you want to have a nice big header image, right? A header image is, and if we talk about concept-wise, you usually have a header at the top, or a hero sometimes, or you get a header. Sometimes you'll have a bigger image kind of at the top, like that. Sometimes they call it hero. Then you usually have your main concept. Sometimes you have a side bar like this. This comes with a sidebar. Sidebar comes from a blog, right? A lot of blogs will have the sidebar over here. And the reason why is because that's where you would have the latest and greatest information in your blog. And so blogs have a certain system. And then, of course, at the very bottom of each page, it would be a footer. And so most websites have this kind of layout. So one of the challenges we started running into once we started responsive design was, hey, you got this giant hero and a nice big graph in the back. It shows photos of people that are happy and having fun, dogs jumping, whatever. Okay, so you want to have a nice big image there. So I'm going to design for the desktop. Oh, okay, so my width of my desktop is going to be 1,366 pixels across. Boom. I go into Photoshop and make my image 1,366 pixels across, right? Boom. Well, the problem we run into that's going to be a large file. It's going to take kilobytes to download. And of course, people on a cell phone are maybe on a Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi, but on the cellular network, right? G3, LTE, something like that. It's kind of slow. Am I forcing them? So with the concept of responsive design, I make my big, nice image here. And then if somebody's on my phone, I could scale it down using a percentage. That's how we measure it, percentage maybe, down to this size. Okay, but scaling it down like that doesn't change the amount of pixels in there. It's just changing and scaling it. So the file size is still the same. Hey, I'm forcing the person with a mobile phone to download an image that is, 5 times the size they really need. So there's those concepts, and then there's ways of changing it. So then another way to go about it would be to design multiple graphics and have them one small one, one medium one, one large one, and then through programming, test to see and then serve the appropriate one. That might be a better way. There's no right or wrong way. I'm just telling you concept-wise. These are challenges that you run into. So, as far as image size, so where we? Oh, here we are. We're so flexible. Absolutely everything flexible. Now focus on the core components. Pick major breakpoints. Okay, breakpoints is a term that's been around for ever since responsive design has been around. And in the idea of breakpoints, of course, is that you are trying to find out how to change the layout according to the screen size. And so these are what they call common breakpoints. I think I mentioned last week, right, there's a ratio. So if the size of the screen is between this and this, let's give them this layout. If the screen is larger than this, let's give them this layout. If it's smaller than this, give them this layout. And there's a whole bunch of concepts according to how to do that, and I've linked a couple of them there. For this class, you can just choose a specific platform and design your concept in that. If you're in Photoshop, remember you can choose different sizes, right? And they're already in there, right? iPhone X is in there, iPhone 6 is in there, same with Sketch. So as you build your designs, you can just choose the screen in there. Of course, I'm not teaching you how to program this. I'm just showing you that this is what your final project should look like. If it's an app, you might choose a certain platform. Is it an iPad or is it a phone? I don't know if we've noticed, but I think I talked about it already, about how in the App Store, there's a lot of, you can either choose an iPad app or a phone app. And the reason why somebody might build an app that's different so that the layout can be different. It's hard to do universal. Some of us remember in the app design class, we would just choose universal, and it was really hard because trying to make this layout the same as this layout was very difficult. So that's why in app design you might choose iPad app or a cell phone app, and so on. So the term breakpoints means you need a minimum of 3 breakpoints, one for each type of device. That's sort of what it is. Here's sort of the nitty gritty, if that's a term I don't know if we use anymore, but I come from Pennsylvania. Term we would use there, I guess. So you go into the detail here, right? And you can see they might have more than just the 3 you might have. And the other concept that I want to point out is not necessarily flexible as far as scaling wise. A lot of these breakpoints are not necessarily scalable ones, but ones that you just have a specific size for that platform and so on. What I mean by that is I don't necessarily have to measure my image in percent. So one of the easiest ways to do a responsive design is to measure things in percentages, right? So that no matter how big the screen is, you're measuring the dimension of things by the percentage of the size of the screen. 80% of a screen might be 100%. My design is 80%, right? No matter how big their browser is, it'll scale down or scale up, right? Where you don't necessarily have to do that. What you can do is you can do it where you're measuring by pixels, right? You say, okay, well, here's a minor breakpoint at 600. It might be, to rotate the screen. And then instead of having your images not necessarily percentage the whole thing, you could have a specific size. That's what I'm trying to say. Specific size. Specific size. Remember my 1366? That's a common size for your laptop. That's where that came from. And I spit that number out before. I looked at the end. And of course, what is a high definition monitor? 1920 by 1080. And then 4K is what? 3860, I think. High definition here, let's see. So, you're faced with more than those numbers that you see there is not necessarily all the numbers, right? Some people might even have 4K. Here we go. What's 4K? I can't. Here, we're going to, here it is, film. So here's high definition, 1920 by 1080. Right here is high definition. Oh, here it is, 3840 by 2160. And now they're coming out with 8K. Did you see that? Coming out with 8K. So these numbers that you were seeing in that chart that we just said, these are pixels, okay, that they're measuring in the common dimensions of screen. Again, I said you can, that's what I meant, you can do a max width, and it's never going to get bigger than this. Because that's a problem with somebody who has this huge 4K monitor, is they're designing it and blow it up? I don't know. Okay, let's get back to our concepts. Fluid images and video. Again, you can make videos scale as well. So images are not naturally fluid, but you should modify them. Fluid images and video are not negotiable for responsive design, not only for size, but for cropping. So there is some image examples. Mostly by scaling. The easiest way to do it is to measure the image by percent. You can actually use this computer again. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm just letting you know that this is not evil. Okay, I just thought about it. That computer's not evil. And then there is a link here. I linked this up to this one to a tutorial here. Then I guess we learned about scalable vector graphics a little bit when we started doing the icon. Remember that? Okay, so that's another way. Again, SVG came out years ago. Came out of the XML when XML was developed. In fact, I have a book. I didn't write the book, but I was in the book where I made several SVG graphics as examples in the book. And I'll have to find the book somewhere. I think it got published. And that was back in the early 2000s. The biggest problem with SVG in early days was you had to have a plugin in your browser to be able to see it. So just like in Flash, remember the days of Flash? You had to have the Flash plugin. Well, in the early days of SVG, you had to have a plugin. But nowadays, SVG is built into the browser pretty much, and so you can use it pretty much anywhere. It's scalable, vector. Illustrator makes it well. Then, of course, we have font size. Typography is the cornerstone of web, making up approximately 90% of all the things web. When choosing a typeface, before that your selection works well and maintains the overall feel you want, whether you scale it larger or smaller. Let's do a little history. I love history. There was a time where you couldn't use your own font on a website. In fact, in the early days of the web, let's talk 1997, most important year when it comes to any technology. 1997 was the most critical year of anything. 1997, Internet Explorer 3 came out. And what Microsoft did was they included the ability for you to design a website with your own font. You could use any font that you wanted, and Internet Explorer would display it. That lasted 1 week. Adobe sued them. You can't do that. Fonts are licensed, and that license is for one computer only. If you let fonts be downloadable, you'd be violating our license. And Adobe owns most of the fonts. Well, back then they did. And so it was taken out of Internet Explorer, and we didn't have fonts on websites until maybe 7 years ago, I would say. And so nowadays we can pretty much use a font on a website as long as it's downloadable now. Google has their fonts, even Adobe now has their Typekit and so on. But in the early days of the web, you could only use fonts that were on the person's computer. So we'd use generic Arial, Helvetica, Times, Cooper Bold. Sometimes wasn't on everybody's computer either. But it was a big change. And if you don't know how to use the Google fonts, probably the easiest. I love Google fonts. They're nice and easy, right? Just go to Google Fonts. There it is. Love them so. Choose the fonts you want to use. Add them. You can see you add that. I like that one. Oh, Roboto. There we go. Choose that one. There we go. I don't know. You want to choose another one? We want a crazy font. Give me. Oh, here we go. Scripty font. Lobster. What a name, Lobster. So I choose all three of my fonts there, and then when I'm done, you can download. How do we download? Is this the download button? Where's the download button? There we go. Click on the little thing. You can either download or you link to it right here. Put this in your code, right? Just copy and paste that into your code. Boom, you can program your code using these fonts. Now, of course, the downfall is this link that you see here must be alive. Google changes that, then you're screwed. But other than that, so much easier today. Back in the days, we suffered font-wise in the old days. One way we avoided it and get around it was to use SVG. I would type the text up and then convert it into an SVG and put it on the website. I never liked using typography and then saving it as a PNG or JPEG or GIF. Whoosh, horrible. The SVG, so you would type up the text, save it as an SVG, but then it wasn't editable. The other problem with the SVG and things like that is responsive, accessibility and things like that. You want to use type as most you can and try to avoid graphics for, accessibility. And what I mean by accessibility so that, people can't see it. It has software that reads the website to them and it works properly. So Google Fonts, if you've never used them before, I would try them. And of course, Adobe has Typekit. I haven't really used Typekit very much. I've been using Google Fonts, avoiding Typekit. So font size, you could change the font size in responsive design or keep it the same and maybe make it scalable. Fonts are a little bit tricky.
Here's some tips to make text accessible. That's what I just said about accessibility, making the text readable by screen readers or something else. Legible, contrast. In fact, there's websites that you can test your typography to make sure that people with color blindness and things like that can actually read it properly. There's a couple of them. Use real text rather than text with graphics. That's what I just pointed out. Oh, where is it? Where were they? Oh, this thing is scrolling way too quick for me today. Make big headlines responsive. 1.6 times as large as the text they support. Make body text responsive. And basically what you're looking for is, there's an article for Typekit, is that, using the M space right there, article on using the M space. I haven't read this one. Oh, there you go. I haven't read that one. So that might be worthwhile. Let's talk about how to plan your responsive design. So, here's the old battle. This was the battle. Here's the battle. The battle was, I'm planning a responsive site. How do I plan my design? Do I plan my design for desktop and then shrink it down? Tablet, mobile. These little boxes represent the content, of course. Or do I plan on doing mobile and design the desktop? Of course, the best way would be to do mobile to desktop. The reason why is usually this doesn't work very well, because you tend to put a lot of content on the desktop, right? So you have a lot of content on your desktop, then you try and squeeze that content into a smaller screen, and then try and squeeze it into an even littler screen. Some ways to avoid that and get around that is to hide things. You can actually hide things. So if you have a lot of content here, maybe remove some stuff. For scrolling is a problem if it's very long. And I had the discussion yesterday. I did have this discussion yesterday. It was just, the pain and suffering that I've been going through for years was this pain. My pain. This thing's painful to me. It was desktop design first, right? And I pointed out to them yesterday. I went and talked to them yesterday. I do a lot of research over the weekend, and I go there on Monday and say, this is what I found out over the weekend. That 5,000 in a week's time, let me just give you stats. Within 1 week time frame, 5,000 people came from a mobile device to this site. 1,600 came from a desktop, and about 600 came from a tablet. So, it's almost 3 times as many people came from a mobile device. And of course, when I look at it, this is what they're looking at. This giant thing here doesn't really tell me anything, right? A big, dumb product, I don't know what that is. You got this, again, this term is a slideshow, or what else would you call that? This kind of slideshow kind of thing. It's just, it doesn't really tell you much on there. So, and then when you look at the stats, they go to the site, and then they go to one page, and then they leave. So you're not getting any. They go here, and then now they're listed. Now they have a whole list, and they don't even know which product do I choose. It doesn't tell you. It doesn't give you any guidelines. So I don't know. I was complaining to these people yesterday about we should have designed for mobile first and made a great mobile experience, then make a desktop experience. You can even add things. Remember I told you about hiding and showing things? You can hide things and show things. The other thing they started to do, and let's continue. So So it's up to you. I would say most people design for mobile up. Again, build the mobile wireframe first, then use that as a model for larger breakpoints. Avoid large graphics. I kind of said that to you already. How to deal with that might be to have graphics that scale, or that don't necessarily scale, but have multiple graphics. Design scalable and smart navigation. Use pattern design. They have 4 pattern designs that they talk about. Google product director Luke whatever describes 5 broad categories of responsive design. For this article, select 4 of the most popular. Mostly fluid. Mostly fluid pattern is a multi-column layout that introduces large margins on big screens, relies on fluid grids. It works well on sites with diverse set of layouts among many pages and marketing e-commerce sites. Again, you can see the content stacking. Drop columns means the content may change in size. So it's not necessarily that the content is being shifted around, but the content size may change. So again, the difference between this one and this one is that the content pretty much is the same size, right? You're just reorganizing the content. Where this one, you actually adjust the size of content. See? Boom, boom, boom. So you can add more data to a certain box. And then this one, of course, is off canvas, which means some of the data is not visible. Like this is where the burger menu comes in, right? You can have your menu off the edge of the screen. When the person hits the burger menu, it slides on. This was a very popular probably 5-6 years ago. People started doing that. So again, you have a nice layout. You don't have to deal with the navigation because you put the navigation outside the visible area. And that's very common as well. And then layout shifter, which means it's kind of like the first one. Then they talk about visual hierarchy. Try not to make everything the same size, even on a mobile device, right? One of the problems you run into when you're going down to mobile is that, hey, you make a box of content and then you duplicate it. Remember we were making the list, and I say, oh, we make one list box, save it as a group, and duplicate it down. Well, the problem with that is, you're going to run into boring hierarchical structure. I guess for a list it's okay, but for the content of a major site, you might want to consider some difference. And so there you go. There's some conclusion. So this was a good kind of introduction to responsive design. I haven't read that article there. We learned about Google Fonts. This one talks about fluid grids. And so what is a fluid grid? Well, it's basically a grid that changes according to, mostly measured in percents. And then they talk about size and so on. And they talk about IE. We all love Internet. IE was Internet Explorer. They talk about measuring things in M spaces to get around the IE problems. But of course, we don't have to really deal. Well, I guess some people use IE, but most people don't anymore. What's the most popular browser today? Chrome, yes. Then they talk about setting sizes relatively units. Again, I think I explained that to you last class. The advantage of the M space is that you can change things relative to something else. The font size could be this size. The body size could be this. One of the other advantages of relative spacing is that people can change the size of their font in the browser. So if you ever do that before, right? You hit your Command plus, Command minus, right? Here, look. So your font size is changing, and it should relate to what you're doing and scale appropriately. So again, here's a common way of measuring with percents, right? Font normal, 100%. Then they give you Helvetica, Arial, Sans Serif. Those of you who haven't done any coding before, this was a way that we would dictate how the font would be displayed. First, it would look here. If the person has Helvetica on their computer, show Helvetica. If they don't have Helvetica, which some Windows systems didn't come with Helvetica by default on it, did they? Arial, though, would be a default font on a Windows system. So if they didn't have Helvetica, they jump to Arial. And of course, if they didn't have Helvetica or Arial, boom, they'd use whatever sans serif font is on the computer. Usually there's at least one serif font and one sans serif font on any computer, right? So this was a typical of 100%. And it doesn't mean that the font's going to be 100% of the size of the screen. It just means that the font's going to be 100% of the size of the font. It's hard to explain. 100% is 16 pixels, basically. 100% is 16 pixels. 16 is like the magic number. Most M space, the default would be 16 pixels. Again, the default style sheet. And so you can read that. This is how they come up with font size. And then so on. And so, you know, it'd be good if you were planning a website that you understood how a grid works and the fluid grid, and include that in any plan. This one was the responsive images. They use the tag picture tag, which I have never used a picture tag. Did anybody use the picture tag before? I don't think I've ever used a picture tag, but they talk about using something called a picture tag. They also talk about cropping images. I don't know what that means. Simple crop. So the image is not the same size. Rotate, resize the window. I don't know. I haven't really got to read all this yet. Let me see this one. Oh, here's the code. So they have a variable width. The image is, of course, the image you see there. And then they have different sizes. Right here. So, use a mobile-first approach with 5 breakpoints. It only loads images as each breakpoint matches. Oh, see that? It's loading the image appropriately. Do you see that? See it jump there, and then jump there, and it jump there, and it jump there, and it jump there. So this one, again, was the concept that you're only loading the one you need. Saves on data. Remember our discussion about data? And how, you know, and why am I making somebody download a 1366 size image on a 32 pixel phone? I don't know, that was there right here. And then of course the massive book. I think I showed you this book last time. I'm not going to go through the whole book. It has many of the concepts that you would need to know. Still downloading. It's an older book, but again, I learned how to do a responsive site from this book, and I had another book, a blue book. So it was a good way of starting. So it talks a lot about divs and how to deal with the divs. And so, and then they'd have a little lesson in there where you make a website. So you can practice some of the examples. I did this one, I did that. Then it talks about media queries. And how to change the media query. and so on. So, and then you make this site. So this is an example of the site that this book has a tutorial where you make actually this site, and you can copy and paste the code, and they talk about grid structure and how to do the sizes and so on, and how to make graphics that will repeat across. I'll talk a little bit about repeating graphics next class. I don't think we'll get to that today. So there's a great book right here. And then I found this from Google as I was doing a lot of Google research, and they talk about responsive design, and of course the term that you probably should know out of this is of course the viewport. The viewport is the actual code that tells the browser to scale according to the size of the screen. So whenever you're using, because think about it, there's all kinds of different devices. We're not going to test, is it an iPhone 6? Is it an iPhone 8? Is it an iPhone 7? Is it an iPhone? Is it Android, Samsung, this, that? So instead of having to know all the sizes, we can use something called the viewport. And the viewport tag tells the browser how to adjust the content. So most of the time we put it to initial scale 1. What this does is it makes the width of your content scale to the size of the screen. So that's a common, this was from Google, and they show you samples. Oh, this is where I found the picture element. Has anybody used the picture element? I've never used the picture element. For responsive video, include the picture element. Then they have common mistakes, and then redirections, and so on. Then they talk about JavaScript, adaptive JavaScript, and so on. So that was a good reading there. And then again, this was another one. Oh, this is the picture element. I don't know, what does this guy say?
You found the perfect image for your responsive site. It looks great on desktop, but loses its awe when viewed on a phone. Between the change in orientation and the smaller screen, all of the fine detail becomes impossible to see. Displaying different images based on device characteristics is called art direction, and the picture element was designed exactly for this. Inside is a list of source tags. Each source tag includes a set of rules and the image to use when those rules are met. You also need to include an image tag. The browser enumerates the list of sources and checks the rules. As soon as it gets a match, it'll use that image. If no source tags are matched, or if picture isn't supported, the browser uses the image tag. Perfect for backwards compatibility. Let's take a look at this in action. The first source tag specifies a media query and checks if the browser width is over 800 pixels. If it is, the full-size image is used. But if the first source tag was not matched, the next one is checked, testing if the browser width is greater than 400 pixels. If it is, the browser will use that image. When the browser width is less than 400 pixels, or the picture element isn't supported, the browser uses the image specified by the image tag. Styling the picture element is done by applying CSS to the image tag, not the picture element itself. This is also where you should specify the alt text and any other attributes that are needed. There you go. You now know how to use a picture element for art direction. The picture element is only supported natively in Chrome 38, but other browser vendors have committed to implementing it. You can use it knowing that you won't break older
Okay, so it seems like the reason why I haven't used picture element, it tends to be only on Chrome, at least for now. But it seems like a very good concept for the future, as far as being able to do the concept we just said, sending different size images according to the screen size. So, I don't know. And of course, most people are using, and then they talk about SVG a little bit, and so on there. Then, if you haven't ever used Font Awesome, which is an icon font with more than 315 different icons that can be easily customized, including size, color, shadow. With Font Awesome, you can either add icons by using the Unicode identity like the HTML5 logo, or by accessing special classes in the I element like the CSS3 logo. So, another idea if you're going to do web is to use the Font Awesome or build your own font suitcase. It's been years since I did that myself, but you can actually build your own font suitcase. So it's just like dingbats, right? We've all seen the dingbats before, right? The font, the little icon, the little icons that represent a character, right? Camera one, this is the code, so on, so on. You can program it with the number or this as well. Font Awesome is something that you add. It's kind of like Google Fonts, right? You add Google Fonts to your site. You can add Font Awesome to your site. And then you can take advantage of all the icons. And then you can color them in CSS. I can program this cloud on my website. I can change it to purple if I want. It's very simple. The other thing you can do is if you have icons like this that are built in the Font Awesome, which they have, what did they say? Like, how many icons did they say they had in the pre-made Font Awesome? 350 different icons, right? That's a lot. But if you want to make your own, you can. Now I have to remember how I used to do it. What was it? It'll come to me. There's a website. I think it's icons. I'll have to remember. But basically, you make your icons in Illustrator. Save them as an SVG, then you upload them to this website. You upload all your icons to the website, and it makes a font suitcase, just like Font Awesome, and you attach it to your website, and then you just use the code for that icon you made and you program it on your website. So there's ability to make your own icons instead of having to just deal with them. It used to be easy. I used to demonstrate that in web development. I can't remember the website. It was called iSomething. I swear it was I. Hold on, I have to. I got one more minute before I'm done here. Was it iIcon? I swear it was. It's not the Noun Project. Forget. Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about. Let's look at your final piece today. Let me stop recording.